Today, we're going to learn two things: how to find old newspaper articles and how to upload them to the History Unfolded project website. History Unfolded is a crowdsourced project run by the U.S. Holocaust Memorial Museum that's collecting news articles published between 1933 and 1945. The project's goal is to track America's response to the Holocaust as it was happening. Here's their website. I've logged in already, so to get started, we'll click on Menu and then on Browse Events. The museum has chosen 30 events for searchers to focus on. They include early events, such as the opening of Dachau, to events from the end of the war, such as Eisenhower asks Congress and press to witness Nazi horrors. Today, we'll be looking for news from a pre-war event, the story of the St. Louis. If we click on this event, it opens up a page with details about what actually took place. Below this history is a section telling us which dates to check, followed by links to find out more about the story. The St. Louis was a German passenger ship that left Hamburg in May 1939 with nearly 1,000 Jewish refugees fleeing Nazi Germany and hoping to start a new life in America. Despite having landing certificates, nearly all of the passengers were forbidden from entering Cuba, and the ship was turned away from Havana and later from the U.S. as well. Despite the captain's best efforts to find a country that would accept his passengers, the St. Louis had to return to Europe, and it's thought that about 250 of the passengers later died in the Holocaust. Here's the ship in 1939. Here are some of the passengers. Here's a map of their route. The ship sailed out of Havana on June 2nd, so that's the week we'll search in. To begin our search, let's go back to the menu and click on Find Newspaper Archive. The museum has compiled a list of hundreds of newspapers, most of them available online. Let's click on Find an Archive, and let's see what's available for the state of Maine. Clicking on that brings up 6 papers. Let's take a look at the Lewiston Daily Sun and see what we can find. We'll click on the link for the resource, and that will take us to another site, the Google News Archive search. It looks like the issues of the Sun are sorted by decade. Let's click on 1930s, then on 1939, then on June. Let's take a look at the edition for June 3rd. To get a better look, we'll click on Full Page icon and then on the magnifying glass icon. It looks like there is a story about the St. Louis right under the masthead. It's a small story, but it has the advantage of being above the fold. It's much easier to get a good image of a story if it's close to the masthead, or at least above the fold. For this story, we can get all of the first page section in our screenshot, plus the paper's name and date. It's important to always get the paper's name and date in any image you capture so researchers can verify it. Many stories are continued on interior pages, but it's not necessary to get an image of the rest of the story. To capture our image, we'll use the Mac's screen capture tool, Command-Shift-4. Great! Now we've got the screenshot on the desktop. You can do this with a snipping tool on a Windows computer too. To find out how that tool works, check the link to another video, which is posted in the description section under the YouTube screen. That wasn't too difficult. Let's go back to the History Unfolded site to upload our story. We'll go back to Browse Events, then back to the event itself, and then we'll click on Submit Research on this event, then on Submit an Article. Now we'll type in the name of the paper, Lewiston, and there is the Daily Sun. Next we'll type in the name of the archive, which is Google News. That pops up right away. We'll hit save and continue. Next, they asked for the type of article. This one was a news article. The page number was 1, and the date was June 3rd, 1939. That's pretty easy. Next, we'll type in the headline. Liner quits Havana with 907 refugees, and the subhead. Passengers think they're bound for US but are returning to Germany. We'll also type in the next part of the subhead. Fear mass suicides or mutiny when true destination learned by German Jews, as that's an important piece of the story. This piece is from the Associated Press, so under byline, we'll type in AP. Some stories have an author listed, but this one doesn't. If it had an author, their name would go in that line too. We're almost done. Next page is the image upload. We'll click on Choose File, go to Desktop, and there's our image. Hit Choose, and there our image shows up on the page. We go to Save and Continue. The next page is a review page, a chance for us to check the accuracy of our work so far and make edits if needed. It also has a comment section. If we're submitting stories from the Google News Archive or any online archive, it's good practice to include the actual story URL in the comment section. So let's go back to the Google page and grab the URL from the address bar using the Edit Copy feature, which will put it on our clipboard. Then we go back to the other page and we'll take it off the clipboard by using Edit Paste, and there it is in the comment section. Now we click on Submit Findings. That's the final step. It looks like the website has accepted our story. Now, let's practice grabbing a story that isn't on page 1. These stories are harder to find, especially since you'll often have to magnify most of the pages to read what's on them. One story from the list of 30 events that's nearly always on an interior page is a story about the Amateur Athletic Union approving American participation in the Berlin Olympics of 1936. This story is usually to be found on the sports page. The Olympics weren't quite as big a deal back in the days before television. Let's check the Lewiston Sun for the date in question. It's December 9th, 1935. Let's see if there's any coverage. We'll go back to Browse this paper. Now the paper is sorted by month, so we want to go back to year. We want to get back to 1935. And then we want to navigate our way over to December and look for December 9th. There's December 9th. All right, it's not on the front page. That's what we expected. So we'll scan the paper until we see something that looks like the sports page. Aha, the sports page with a nice headline right under the masthead. America votes full participation in the Olympic Games. So let us magnify this and pull it down so we can get a good shot of it. We'll go back to Command-Shift-4. We want to make sure we get the page number, the date, the name of the paper, and the headline. You can follow the same process for uploading this story as we did with the front page story. Just make sure you type in page 8 and label it a news story. If you spend enough time searching through old papers, pretty soon you'll start finding editorials and even cartoons related to the 30 events. These are almost always on interior pages. And don't forget, letters to the editor are extremely valuable for this project. Just remember the 3 pieces of info you need for each screenshot: name of newspaper, date, and page number. That way, you'll have an excellent chance of getting your submissions approved. If you happen to be good with editing photos on your computer, you can even capture screenshots of articles found at the bottom of the page and combine these images with shots of the paper's name, date, and page number from the top of the page. Most people aren't this advanced, though. It's a lot simpler to find articles near the top of the page. I hope you found this video helpful and that you become as addicted to old news as I am. You never know when you set out exactly what you're going to find. There are some real treasures out there. Before we close, let's look at a few amazing finds. Good luck with your research.